Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Mechanic Meditations. This is number 2 in our series. Who knows how long this series will be? I'm hoping it'll be for quite a long time. Anyway, thank you for checking out the first one. What or why did you want to be a mechanic? Why do you want to become a mechanic? Got a few comments on that one. Thank you very much. Thanks for the likes. It's very much appreciated. This topic, today's topic, is going to be, I have a plan of questions, a kind of a set question timeline that I want to do, kind of in a specific order. This next one is going to be, what is an honest mechanic? Because I think that's a extremely important topic to get out there. After, why did you want to become a mechanic? Well, if you're a mechanic, your reputation is everything. People come to your shop or seek you out because you, one, do good work, and two, are honest or fair. You're an upstanding member of the community, and you have integrity. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that one. So that's the topic of tonight. What is an honest mechanic? This will be a little disjointed, perhaps, but I like to do the flow of conversation, kind of free thinking, stream of consciousness kind of deal. So I wrote down some notes here. One of the big things for an honest mechanic is a fair quote. It's a fair quote to the customer and to the mechanic and to the person doing the actual job, because there's a difference between fair and cheap. If you're cheap, you're cheating both yourself and the customer, because you're cheating yourself out of fair wage. So if the going rate around your area is $150 an hour and you quote 75, when your skills really are worth 150, well, you're cheating yourself. That's not being honest to yourself. You're also cheating the customer, because now they think that you can get it done super cheap, and that establishes a baseline of a idea of commerce or an idea of price for customers, for your customers. And if they ever go to another shop that charges fairly, now they think that they're getting cheated by that shop. They have this idea in their mind that labor for a auto repair should be cheaper, when really the market rate, the market environment is much higher. In this case, in my example, it's twice as much. By undercutting that badly, you're cheating. Now that I think of it, you're cheating yourself, you're cheating the customer, and you're cheating the marketplace. You're cheating all the other shops in the neighborhood out of a good customer. So I might come back to that one. But another way that you need to be an honest mechanic, or a mechanic is honest, is by not overselling work. If you get a car in for an oil change and you see that it needs brakes, well, don't oversell that brake job. Say, you're going to need brake pads. You measure the rotors, or you measure the brake drums, and if it doesn't need rotors, meaning you can machine the rotors, there's still enough material there that you can machine them and keep them within specification. Don't sell them new rotors. Don't sell them new rotors if they do not need them. The only reason they would need new rotors in that instance is if they're warped or have too much too much thickness variation or whatever, and you can still machine that out. If they're discolored because they've been overheated, don't oversell parts, because now you're generating an idea that every single repair is going to need more parts than it needs. That's one of the most actually that's not quite the most egregious or most blatant. The most blatant is comes in for an oil change, it needs brakes, you sell them a complete front end rebuild, meaning new struts, new shocks, new tie rods, new control arms, everything. When really it just needed brake pads and their rotors machined. Like that is fraud. Essentially, that's lying and fraud. Don't do that. That's the big thing when customers think of a dishonest mechanic. Overselling parts and overselling labor. Absolutely do not do that. Stick with this is what it needs. This is all it needs, and you might need this in the future, but this is what it needs at this current time. And that feeds into my next little section here. Inform customers of all current and potential issues with the vehicle. So when you're doing your inspection, if you're doing your 23-point inspection or multi-point inspection, however many points are on the car that you check out, if you see something that's questionable or could break, not now but later, or it's starting to wear out, so maybe you do the oil change and a tire rotation and you notice that the brakes are kind of low, but they're not low enough. They're 4 millimeters pads, 5 millimeters of pad, and you know that the person doesn't drive too much, maybe 7,000 miles a year or whatever. Tell them, hey, next oil change, you're probably going to need brakes. So start planning out a brake job, brake job cost at that time. You know, a typical brake job at a dealership costs like $500. So, but at a independent shop, it might be like $250. If you are a independent mechanic, doing it out of your driveway or on a mobile instance of a mobile cart or mobile van, maybe it's $200. Whatever you charge, just let them know. Like, hey, your brakes are low. You're probably going to need them. You should start saving up. Put maybe $50 a month away for your brake job. When you come in next time, we'll do it. Potential issues like that. Same with, hey, you're at 27,000 miles. Your next oil change will be 30,000. We have a 30,000 mile service due at that time. It'll be like transmission flush or transmission service, not a flush. Differential, drain and fill, all this stuff, tune up, whatever. If you're dealing with an older Chrysler vehicle, it's always 30,000. Tell them, hey, your next service is going to be kind of a big one, so you might want to start saving up for that. One big thing with honest mechanics, honesty, is if you screw up, you need to tell the customer. So you need to be able to admit to your own mistakes. Either you tell, if you're at a dealer or if you're working at a shop that uses service writers, tell the service writer, hey, I screwed up. I broke something, or I didn't diagnose it right, or we fixed this, but I didn't see this. Something like any sort of screw up. You need to be right on it and immediately let the service writer or the customer or both know as soon as possible, because that allows you to fix the problem quickly, and it builds a sense of trust with the customer, saying like it shows that you are humble enough, you don't have a big ego, and that you are cognizant enough to admit to your mistakes and say, like, I'm not as good as I thought I was, but I can fix it. Or maybe I just screwed up, something happened, broke some bolts, whatever. And customers really like that. They don't like that, okay, it's going to take more time and maybe more money, but they like that they're being informed of something that happened and it was your fault. You're owning up to it. That if you don't own up to it, if you don't admit that you screwed up, that's worse than the customer having to pay an extra 200 or 300 bucks. You will not get that kind of reputation back. You will not get that goodwill back. So be very, very careful on that one. If the customer asks to see what's wrong with their car, they come in, you tell them, hey, it needs motor mounts. And they go, okay, well, can I see it? I want to be able to see it. And they come in and you show them. You have to be able to, one, show them that whatever it is broken, because the customer can see it with their own eyes. And two, you have to have the knowledge to back up why it's broken, or why it's a bad thing, or why they need to replace it or service it, or do any sort of labor to it at that time. Because there are customers out there that know stuff about cars, and they might push you on it. They might push back and ask you, well, why do I need to do that? And if you don't know why, your lack of knowledge, your visible deficiency of wisdom and technical skill is going to show through, and they're just going to go, you're lying to me. This is BS. I want my car back. You're not charge me for whatever it is you did, but I'm not going to come back here. You will not get that goodwill back either if you don't know what you're doing. So you have to have the ethical integrity, but you also have to have the technical integrity, if that makes sense. You have to know what you're doing. The competency needs to show through the way that you're talking and the way that you're describing something to a customer or showing something to a customer, because a customer is going to defer to authority, and you, in this case, you are the authority. And if a customer, especially a customer that doesn't have very much automotive knowledge, but they can sense BS from a mile away, if they think for one split second that you're lying to them or that you don't know what you're doing, they are going to pull that car out of that shop immediately. Or they might let you do that one job, but they will never ever come back. And they will tell 10 people, do not go to that person. So you have to know what you're doing. Absolutely have to know what you're doing. One of the big things, though, is being honest with yourself. We do get egos. Mechanics do get egos because we are fixing things, and if we have an 80% success rate on the first try, well, okay, yeah, we feel really good. Like, yeah, I'm a great mechanic. Those other 20% of things, that wasn't my fault. That was just something that happened, man. The bolt was rusty. It broke. The parts guy gave me the wrong thing, and it didn't fit. That kind of stuff. Like, we do get egos, and I have seen some egos. I have seen a lot of egos. I have gotten tricked by my own ego a couple of times where I think I'm better than I am, and then the car kicks you in the ass and it goes, no, you're not good. But you have to be really honest with yourself. You have to know your limitations, and you have to know your deficiencies, and sometimes those deficiencies are hidden. You can't see them. We don't know what we don't know, so you have to be on the lookout all the time for something that might sneak up on you. That goes back to the training. That goes back to knowing what you're talking about. You have to think about these things, not just in a technical standpoint, but you have to know yourself on an emotional level and I would like to say spiritual level as well, because there is a difference between emotional relationship to the vehicle and spiritual relationship to the vehicle, or to the work, to your labor. There, if you do not know how you interact with the labor, not the car, but the labor itself, the work that you are performing. If you don't know that and don't understand that, you are not being honest with yourself. You do not know yourself. And this is one thing that takes a long time to develop, I've found. Because it's kind of the confidence curve or competence curve, where you start up really kind of low and then go like this and like, oh yeah, I feel really good, I got this, hey, yeah, I know everything. And then you're at the top of Mount Stupid, and suddenly you get knocked off the top of Mount Stupid and you tumble all the way down into the valley and the pit of despair, where nothing goes right anymore. Everything you do is a mistake. Everything that happens is just failure after failure after failure after failure. And that is a very dangerous place to be, especially if you do not know how you handle the failure and how you handle your reaction to the failure. Because you handle failure one way, but then you react to that handling. That usually the reaction is delayed. It could be delayed up to it could be hours, or a couple of hours, or it could be weeks, months, or years, where you thinking about something that happened and you didn't handle it right. So you have to understand your emotional and spiritual relationship to this work, to the labor itself. And that is where the honesty comes in, and it takes so long to understand and reconcile the immediate ego hit with the, what would be the word, assimilation, the synergy, I guess, the synergistic processing of all that happened to you. So that takes a long time. There are ways to accelerate it. You can a lot of the time I read about guys that every Saturday or Sunday they would sit down and just sit for an hour and think about what's happened over the past week, or how they handled certain things. You can go back in so many books on self-improvement, business behaviors, business personalities, and the vast majority of them had some sort of period where they would sit and reflect for 1 to 2 hours a week on what they were doing and how they were doing it. And this is a practice that takes a while to develop. I tend to do it kind of on the fly, where as I'm doing something on a car, working on a car, I'm thinking about what I'm doing, for one, and thinking about how I used to do it. So I've kind of noticed that my thoughts are waves building on top of each other and kind of interacting with each other like that. And I'll be thinking of one thing, and then another thought just kind of swoops in and mingles and takes me off into another direction. And that's how I've developed this kind of thinking towards how to be honest on a personal level with myself. And at the very end of the entire discussion here, it comes down to one question: do you want to be known as a good mechanic, good honest mechanic, or do you want to be known as a cheat? And like I mentioned at the very beginning, Reputation in this industry is absolutely everything. If people think you're a cheat, they will not do business with you. If they think you're a good mechanic, you will have riches beyond your wildest dreams. Hopefully. You'll at least be in business. And people will come to you and they will trust you. So I think that. I know the way that I want to go. I want to be known as the guy that knows AC and how to do Chrysler stuff and does good work on body work, body mechanical and electrical and all that good stuff. I want people to come to me for their electrical and AC concerns. That's what I want to be known as. So we're at the 21-minute mark, so don't want to go too long. But I think this is a good kind of starter conversation. So please, if you found this engaging, if you found it entertaining, if you found it informative or thought-provoking, please, hit a like, leave a comment, get a conversation going, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks a lot.